They'll be 2 years old in December, so working all their kinks out, and they're in a great flow now, so it's a really cool restaurant if you want to check that out. Quick insider tip for Copper Door, we'll give you. Copper Door's lunch menu is cheaper than T-Bone's lunch menu, so people think it's very pretentious, and that's exactly false. Their fish and chips on their menu is cheaper than it is at T-Bone's. So lunch, they have great happy hours, 4 to close, pretty much every day, but Friday and Saturday, it's all day on Sunday. They do something called Sangria Sundays, where it's $15 pitchers of sangria, $10 pizzas, which are in this massively gorgeous stone oven that they had, dropped in through the roof of that place. We all kind of watched it happen. It was really cool. Makes it taste better when you get to see the oven come through the roof.
I thought it was the homemade dough, but
yeah, and all that. So that's Copper Door. T-Bone's Cactus Jacks. We actually own 5 T-Bones, and there's 2 Cactus Jacks. Our most recent location besides Copper Door is our Laconia location, which is actually the only dual concept restaurant in the state of New Hampshire. T-Bone's is at the top and Cactus Jacks is at the bottom. And just since it's summer and we're talking about grilling and it's nice weather, if you ever have, a couple hours to kill, but don't want to spend a ton of money, you were going to grab lunch or something, head up to the Lakes region. You guys are in Hooksett, so maybe 45 minutes away from here. They have a gorgeous deck that's right over Poggis Bay. It's absolutely beautiful. You can't see it from the road, but it's in the back, so it's really cool. If you already know you're a fan of T-Bone's, Cactus Jacks, it's a great location to kind of kill a nice sunny day without, going out and spending $300 on something. So those are our brands. That's what we do. We're a very laid-back brand. We're definitely a very local brand. The people that own our company are, 3 amazing guys. Really laid-back, very cool, awesome to work for. Very driven, making sure the employees are happy, and we smile, and we love to do events like this, and we skip doing bigger events to do smaller local events like this because you guys are our customers at the end of the day. You're the local people. We care about your opinion, and it's a big reason why we're here. What we're going to talk about today is tips and tricks on grilling. I like to have fun. I'm not shy at all, so I'd love it if it was interactive. And seriously, ask me anything about cooking. If it's baking, I'm not going to promise you my answer is going to be correct, okay? Because in culinary arts school, you do the first years broad spectrum, then you skip and to either culinary arts or baking, and there were so many people that were indecisive, and I was not one of them. I said, no, baking is a lot of patience, you have to measure everything, that's just not for me. So I'm okay at it, but I can decorate a cake, but that's about it. Twice a year for my kids. But seriously, feel free to ask me anything, even if you have a garden at home and something's growing, or I'm pretty educated on a couple different things. If you're on a particular diet, I know a lot about how food affects your body. So just give me a shout out. Please feel free to interrupt me. I don't want to just talk for an hour and a half, and Steve doesn't want to hear me for an hour and a half, longer than he has already. So truly, if you feel like you want to come up and cut something, or you want to try to sear the fish, then I'm totally into that. I love it. So we like to have fun, and that's what we'll do. That's what we're going to do today. So I just have a quick paper to keep me on track, or else I'll babble about Stars in 20 minutes from now, so if you see me looking at my paper, it's just my little cheat notes here. Grilling, totally, people use this term called the grill season, and I just don't believe in a grill season. I'm that person that shovels. I proudly shovel, this path to my grill in the middle of the winter. And a big part of that is because I do know a lot about food. When you go to school for food science, a big piece of it is learning how food affects your body. And I'm a huge fan of grilling because of the health benefits and because of the cleanup benefits as well. Because Steve will tell you I do not like to pick up messes, and if you can cook soup to nuts on one cooking area that I just have to burn off, you don't have to scrub anything, just set it to 8,000 and keep the lid shut for 10 minutes and then have to scrape it off next time. I'm totally into that. So grilling, I'm a huge fan of grilling. I love to do it. So first things first, safety first. A big tip that seems like common knowledge, but you wouldn't believe the things I see at my friend's house or even at my mom's house, is get yourself a couple good grilling tools. The silicone spatula that you use inside is not necessarily good for the grill outside, okay? And that doesn't mean you have to go out to Williams-Sonoma and spend $300 on a grill set. I'll tell you the exact opposite. I see some of these things at cooking stores, I don't know if people think if they spend $500 on something, they're gonna like be emerald when they get home. It just blows my mind the money that that some of these stores charge for stuff. And of course, quality has a lot to do with it. I'm a huge advocate of buying knives that are good quality and that do cost a couple $100 because you only need 2 of them for your entire life. So a couple good tools. That means tongs, spatula, and pretty much that's it. 2 different kinds of spatulas. One for your burgers, sausages, anything, hot dogs you want to roll around, whatever. And then also a fish spatula. If you're a fish fan and you seem to struggle with grilling fish or it breaks apart, just the right tool for the right job. So regular spatula, a fish spatula, which is actually it's a daintier spatula. It's usually slotted, and it's not as rough. It doesn't push through the protein like that type of spatula will. And then tongs. A short pair, a long pair. Obviously not this short because you won't be able, depending on how big your grill is, or if you have a charcoal grill that you can maneuver all around, then shorter the better. Because you ever have, I don't know why grill tongs are like this long, and they're so heavy you can't really do anything with them, and your asparagus like flings, and it's just you just wish you just used a fork. So just get yourself a couple of good tools. Truly, I mean, KitchenAid is fine. You're going to use them all year. You're going to get dings and dents. You're going to end up replacing them fine, but don't go crazy.
Sam's Club has a really, if you've ever been, they have a really great line of restaurant and catering-based equipment. If you ever, I mean, sometimes you got to buy a set. It's got, actually, Sam's Club sells a set of tongs that's a 9-inch and a 12-inch in a package. Yeah, and like tongs, simple things, since we're getting into tools, like I have tongs that click closed when you go like this. People think those are great, and then you're doing this, and you got them. And you know how to use them, but then somebody tries to help you on the grill, and they're like, and now your things are burning because your cool tongs nobody can open. Or they have that piece that you slide down, and you're doing this after a while. So simple stuff like this is what we use commercially because they work. Also, you'll notice that this handle is wood, and the reason for that is because it doesn't get hot. It takes more time for it to get hot. So those like black plastic pieces will tend to get hot less fast as well, as opposed to, this metal heats up really quickly. And you can actually, when we hold these, I can tell you right where the divots are, right where this metal piece to the back is, because this metal will get hot all the way through. And same thing with knives. I'll give you a quick tip on knives if you don't know. See how you can see this metal goes all the way through this wood, and you can see these divots in here? That's a sign of a good quality item, because that means that your blade doesn't stop here on your knife, and that means your spatula doesn't stop here. So when you have a lot of weight on this, it's got a lot of reinforcement back here. So again, probably a little bit more expensive than your average spatula, but it will last you forever. So if you can ruin that thing, then you've impressed me. So not overly expensive, just what you need, proper tool for the proper job. Ladies, I put a note in here, don't get ones that are too heavy. They all look great in the package, but try to get something where you can buy individual pieces. Packages are great except for the fact that you don't use half of them. Just like a big, Cutco knife block set that looks cool on your counter, and you spend $600 on it and you use 2 of the knives in the entire thing. Don't do that stuff with grill tools. Get the couple that you need, and make sure that when you're shopping for them, you can pick it up. Is it going to kill your wrist? Are you going to be doing this with the tongs? I'm also not a huge fan of those ones that aren't spring-centered. They have that big circle loop. You know what I'm saying? They're more pressure than they don't spring back open. They just stay in a horseshoe shape. And you only have to put pressure on them. They're always super flimsy towards the end. Sometimes they have little claws on both sides. I'm going to use my trusty little clamshell things here, okay? Another safety tip, always turn off your gas when you're done grilling. If somebody wants to question me on why, just because it's a smart idea, it's called, in commercial world, it's just practice. What you turn on, you always turn off. Does it make it any less safe? No, because by the time you have to turn your igniter for gas to come out of it, and I totally understand that, for it to pull the gas, but why not just turn it off? So that, if your 8-year-old or, even somebody's leaning on it, we've all 1 in a million, but you don't want to be that 1 in a million, so.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Sure.
So while we're on the tools conversation, are there items that you recommend, make that big investment, do it, you're going to be fine with it, versus items that maybe expect to replace every season, or does it make a big difference between?
No, it doesn't truly. Like I said, just getting a commercial commercial, a pretty decent, like Le Gourmet Chef, or even truly, Home Goods has some really cool equipment there that you can tell is commercial grade. Just stainless steel, because it's gonna, every one of us does this, and we're like, ooh yeah, steaks are ready, and then your tongs get rained on, 3 rain showers,
Yes.
Stainless tongs, and just a good spatula. And the other thing that can happen with spatulas is they warp over time, or like this will get a little kinked up. If it's not, this is very heavy stainless steel. You might not buy one this thick, but if it's got little grooves or dents in it, then chuck it, because you're gonna rip up all of your burgers. You're gonna scratch up all your chicken. And if buying a new $15 or $20 spatula seems expensive, think about the proteins that you're destroying every single time you throw them on your grill. So just try to think full circle. But yeah, good pair of tongs, good spatula.
I've had this spatula for 5 years,
Wow.
and I do a ton of outdoor grill, catering, same thing with
Hundreds of
tongs.
burgers at a time. Yeah, and the thing that's cool about this, if you notice too, this is like a long spatula, where typically ours have a longer handle and a shorter metal piece. Well, it's cool because this way it allows us to, that burger's done, this burger's done, this burger's done, flop it. This it just, anything that gives you more control. In like the chef's mind, it's like these are like extensions of our bodies. We want to make them be able to be as short in our hand as we can, so that we can maneuver them correctly as if they were our hands, but control whatever we're cooking. Obviously, you want your hand a little bit longer on the grill. I'll use these on my grill, but also when you're removing stuff, you remove top burgers first instead. You ever see people try to pull the back ones first and forget that there's fat dripping through the grill, and then arm hairs and see you later. Yeah, well, I mean, I've done it too. I have 2 screaming kids, whatever. But just the proper length, and not too long, not too short, but a good quality. Don't get anything like hot pink silicone. Like, I love it too, but it's just so not practical. It's just whatever. Usually the uglier the tool, the more functional it is for your house. Everybody have that Tupperware from like the 70s still in your cabinet, because it's like this heinous color, but it's wicked thick, and it can go in the dishwasher and the microwave. Like, I have my mom's Tupperware and I love it. So it's kind of, think of that mentality. So always turn your gas off. Always make sure others are clear of the area when you start your grill, which seems like, oh yeah, no-brainer, because we're sitting at the Hooksett Library right now at 7 o'clock on a Thursday. It doesn't always come to mind when you have a couple beers and there's a bunch of people on your patio that you love, and you start up your grill. Truly, people shouldn't be within feet of your grill when you're starting it. We're like masters of the grill. We love to like own our grills, but they're still dangerous pieces of equipment, so just be careful what you did, because chances are pretty good I didn't clean it the last time I use it and it's gonna go or whatever, and if the grill doesn't light right away, always just turn it off and just kind of let it air out. Don't, click it and click it and click it again. Just let the grill air out a little bit, fan it. Just pretty much the point of it is to kind of just dissipate the gas. It would blow your mind how much gas will condense in one spot, and it's not, if you have a pilly sweater, all of a sudden your pills are gone. It's not a safe way to do it, but it is effective. And never ignite a gas grill while the lid is closed. Everybody knows that, right? Okay, I've seen that as well, and I'm like, looking from the slider and moving into the living room. So for starters, make sure you have plenty of fuel. Don't be bragging about what a grill master you are, only so you run out of fuel halfway through the steak cooking. Okay, we've all also done that. Even if you have a backup that you have to replace, it's like if it feels like you can throw it across the backyard, just replace it. Because it's dangerous to be turning it off. Now you have stuff half cooked, your fuel's just on, you're changing out, just kind of, safety first.
Another Sam's Club tip is they actually started selling fuel gauges that you screw onto the grill first, and then you screw on, and it's just a little dial. And it works pretty good. I bought one a couple years ago for my catering truck. And sure enough, you're like, oh. You come with steak tips. I'm like,
Yeah, you guys know what he means by gauge? It's telling you how much gas is left in the grill. So always turn your grill on like 10 minutes before you're going to cook on it. And here's the reason. You can either oil your make sure that your grill is clean, because any char or anything left on it is going to flame up and it's just, you're going to make a mess. It's going to ruin your food. So make sure your grill is nice and clean, and then oil your grill really well. I don't care if you do it while it's off or when you turn it on, and then you do it. Some cool tricks are, like, I've seen people have like little forks and they stick like an onion on it, and they have an oil tray, and they, you know, so it kind of like gives like some flavor to the grill grates with the oil. I usually use like a rag, and I do it like that. You can do it with tin foil, you can do it just with a pastry brush.
Does it matter what type of oil?
I use olive oil just because it's in my house, but you can use vegetable anything. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be an expensive oil, no. Pretty much the point of it is so that you're creating a fat layer, a layer of fat, to help it be not to help the grill grates become, you know, be more of a non-stick area.
Don't use like casserole 10W40.
Yeah, don't use that. Lighter fuel, don't use any of that. Lamp oil, no, that also good. Yeah. So make sure your grill grates are nice and oiled. Just because, think about it like this, you wouldn't start a pan on your stove without adding a fat to it, right? We don't just throw garlic or onions in a dry pan, right? So think about the same, you know, people, these culinary, thinking from a culinary perspective, you always start with a fat, either not only for the food and flavor, but for your cooking surface, especially when you're dealing with proteins. So nice and oil, and get your grill grates screaming hot. High, high, high. I don't care if you're gonna cook on high, if you're gonna turn 2 of them completely off. Full blast, 10 minutes. Get those grill grates screaming hot. We start our grill, God, probably a solid hour, half hour before we even start cooking anything on it at the restaurant. And I mean, I'm talking high pressure commercial grills that heat up instantly. And the reason is that you ever get these beautiful grill marks at, you know, the Longhorn or at T-Bones, and you can't seem to do the same thing at your house? Chances are pretty good it's just that your grill just is not getting hot enough. Lid closed, grill on blast. So get those grill grates screaming hot. Same idea when you're sauteing. You want to make sure that your fat in your pan, butter, oil, whatever it is screaming hot before you introduce anything else to it. Because from a culinary standpoint, the point of introducing the fat to the pan is, like I said, to cook for surface reasons, either the surface on the food that you're cooking and to make it what you're cooking with, to be able to, you know, remove the protein in the fond. Always pull your proteins, fish, steak, chicken, pork, whatever you have, out of the refrigerator at an appropriate time before you're going to grill it. Some people dispute this fact. I've done catering events for many, many years. I've done weddings for many years before I had my corporate chef position. Basically what I mean is, let's say you have 2 salmon fillets. I always pull them out of the refrigerator half hour before I'm supposed to cook them. That kind of horrifies people because, you know, you're not supposed to keep proteins at room temperature. I'll tell you, at the stake of my reputation, having a protein out of your refrigerator for 30 minutes that you're now going to cook fully is, even if you cook it, you know, completely rare, it's not going to hurt it by any means. What it is going to do is acclimate that protein to not be 42 degrees that your refrigerator is, and it helps, in my opinion, I'll say, it helps promote even cooking, even coloring on the outside. When you have something that's 40 degrees or 38 degrees out of your fridge, and then you hit a grill grate, I just always acclimate proteins at my house, whether I'm baking, grilling, sauteing, doesn't matter. It's just a habit I have. I always do it, obviously within a safe amount of time. If you're gonna grill a whole pork loin, pull it out an hour beforehand. It's totally fine. Just again, so that the surface area kind of cools down, the center cools down, because what you don't want is something to get screaming hot on the outside and still be 40 degrees on the inside, especially with your bigger cuts of beef. Especially when you're cooking on a grill, which is for the most part considered a quick cook method or a dry heat cooking method. So if you Google it and it says that's horrifying, then make your own judgment call by all means. Have the equipment you need ready. Tongs, spatulas, plates to take the food off the grill. We've all done that, right? Our burgers are like mint, they're perfect, we melt the cheese, and we're like, oh, I need a platter. You know, and then you're contemplate putting it on the side of your grill, and you're like, oh no, there's birds and stuff outside. And then you're banging on your sliding glass door like, hello, try it. You know, and of course the one pot you use for burgers is in the dishwasher or at your aunt's house where you left it. So just make sure that all of your parts are in place before you're ready to rock, because grilling can happen fast, and it can go bad really fast as well. So now you got your grill on, you got the grates screaming hot. What we use in the restaurant is called the 3-flip method. And visually, here's how you do it, right? Let's say you have, this is your steak, okay? Your grill grates are going this way, all towards you, or however way they go on your grill. And you just put the steak completely on. I don't care if you put it sideways, horizontally, vertically, however you want to do it, that's totally fine. It's neither here nor there. So you have it on screaming hot grill grates. Cook it for a couple minutes, 3 or 4 minutes to get a nice char on it. It will vary depending on how much you like your beef cooked. And then all you want to do is just a simple one, imagine a clock like 1, 2, 3, 4 turns, just a 1-click turn. And pick your beef up, 1-click turn. So, and the reason for that is because now that's how you create a grilled diamond. Okay?
It's like
Or,
magic. It's like magic.
yes.
All your friends will be like,
Or,
you're not worthy.
they'll be like, this looks so good. We really do eat with our eyes first. We totally do. And it's so impressive when somebody has sweet grill marks, you're like, you must have worked somewhere. Or what I do, and this is, you follow me a little bit closer here. So my steak goes on the grill here, right? So these grill grates were screaming hot when I put that on. So, now there's no steak here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick it up, do my turn, but put it on new grill grates. And the reason is because those grill grates are now screaming hot. Because what you did when you put your protein on that section of the grill is cooled those grill grates down. So you want to get a nice black diamond on it, twist up, drop it 1 time. And now it's going to look amazing on that side. Cook it at least 60% of what you consider done. Spatula, flip it on new grates again. Again, and this time it doesn't matter. You're not looking for a pretty grill grate on this side. Because good news is if you screw up, you can start over on the other side. There's like 2 sides to every meat, and you only have to make 1 facing up on the plate, which is totally good news. Next time you go to a restaurant, just check, check the other side of the steak and see if there's a new guy cooking on the broiler that night. So, new grill grates, new grill grates, new grill grates. Is it always that easy when you have like 10 steaks on your grill? No, not necessarily. That's why I wanted to demonstrate the first flat way, 1 turn, so you get those nice grates. But it's always ideal to start on new iron or whatever you got on your grill. Okay, cast iron. So that way, and then you flip it 1 time, and it's only going to have 1 straight line. You can have lines this way, you can have diagonals. It doesn't matter. You have already established your nice grill grates. You're ready to rock. You're ready to plate that baby. Okay. So now your protein's done. We'll talk about rubs and seasonings in a minute, but now your protein's done. You have this great marinade. You have this great dry rub on your pork chops that you just marked up super nice. Plate it. Here's a restaurant tip for you. Hope nobody's on a big diet, okay? Because you don't have to use a ton of butter. We have stuff called maison butter, veggie butter, things like this. And it's a very simple base of the meat. And it does 2 things. It adds a layer of fat on top of the beef, and it doesn't have to be a lot, or your chicken or your pork. Obviously, if barbecue chicken, you don't do this, but if it's like a dry rub or a marinade, like an Italian marinade or something that the butter flavoring will enhance or won't mess with. Because what it does is it adds a layer of fat, which does 2 things. Fat doesn't let things breathe, it suffocates it. So now you have, it helps keep in the heat, it adds all that delicious, juicy flavor that you have at restaurants. And obviously it adds a lot of moisture and things like that. And butter, having a fat on top of a protein like that actually enhances your mouthfeel. So these are all the reasons that restaurants do stuff like that. So just when you think you're done, a quick base of butter, and you can do like a herb butter, Italian seasoning, garlic powder, salt, and pepper. That's it. Do it in some soft butter. Throw your butter in the microwave, let it get room temperature again. Doesn't have to be tricky.
Just take a note. You can't just.
Sorry. I talk about so much.
It's being videotaped? Like how
I forgot this is being videotaped. Great. Remember all
There we
this. So that's if there's one thing you take out of this class, think new metal, new cast iron, new whatever your grill grates are made out of. New, if you can. That means burgers. There is no reason. I don't care if you buy a pre-packaged patty, there's no reason it should look pretty on a bun. Okay, it's no excuse, it's so easy to do. So again, we base our burgers like that, we do all types of stuff just to add a little bit of flavor. Go ahead.
Did you mention how long to leave the steaks every time you turn them or turn them over?
It depends, and I'm not gonna walk around your question, but it truly does depend on how you like your steak cooked, how big the steak is. We have 25-ounce T-bones in our restaurant that as soon as a server gets one ordered, we tell that customer, you're looking at 25 minutes before you see your steak on a good night. Because that's how long it takes to cook 25 ounces of beef correctly, if you want it, medium and up. But let's say you have like an 8-ounce sirloin, about 6 or 7 minutes on each side for like a mid-well, if you know, and decrease the timing for anything less. I'm definitely a toucher. We don't do it in the restaurant, obviously, or if they do, they have gloves on. But I'm definitely a toucher. I just know by touch, so it's hard for me to explain timing-wise. Yeah, I poke. I'm a poker, definitely.
You can also,
I jiggle sometimes.
sorry, especially with burgers, you can also watch as it bleeds.
Yeah, right.
It's a great indicator of what's left inside.
And let me interrupt you. We don't mean when you squeeze it with your perforated. You check. You can just see. It just does the magic for you. That's why you can't put the cheese on too early. So what he means is that when the juice is purging out, that's the technical term is purge. It's very sexy, I know. When it's purging its fat, it'll be very red at the beginning because it's blood. And then as it gets clearer and clearer, if it's got little red dots in it, it's probably at a good medium. If you're into medium, cheese it and get it off the grill. If you like it completely well done, you want to make sure if you like it well done, you can push it with a spatula. I don't care at that point. You shouldn't eat anything well done. So 3-flip method. So write that down.
I will. And then you slandered people who like their food well done. So now
Yes,
I feel a little
also
bit-
make
Defensive here?
I know, I'm sure. I'm doing it wrong the whole time.
Did you ever have a well-done order returned to cook it in?
Oh, absolutely. Totally. Either because it's too well done and we're like, okay.
No, they wanted.
Or because they want it more
well.
cooked. Oh, totally. We've had customers and we like are horrified by it. You know, we have this reserve premium beef that we have in-house butchers cut every day and deliver to all of our restaurants. I don't know if you guys know that. Little plug there. Oh yeah, we've had people send it back and say, can you just throw it in that commercial microwave for 2 minutes? And we're like, oh. You know, our answer is yes, so of course we will, but it's like, do you want to spend $30 on a steak? You just microwave it. You know, we just have to be like, whatever, you know, whatever makes you happy, sure. I eat my pork like pink in the middle, you know, I have to think about I'm like the drastic other side, so I try to appreciate the full rim of people's
They
discrepancy.
probably needed new souls on the.
Oh yeah, we've seen it all, you trust me.
Wow.
We also get the exact opposite, where people are like, we want it black and blue. We literally want it seared on 2 sides. And the cooks are like, this is totally raw. Can we serve this? And oh yeah, people eat it and they love it. It's like literally room temperature in the middle. They're totally okay with it.
Wow.
I went to France and they eat a lot of raw meat there, and it was horrifying. You know, whatever, that's their thing, so I use horrifying in a very cultured way, of course.
You know this is going.
I went to Asia, I was far more horrified by the things they ate there, so France was like a 6 on the scale. So second most important thing, rubs and marinades. Just shoot questions to me about rubs and marinades. I'll give a general quick what a rub is. Anything can be a rub. You know, Simply Seasonings, you got your Pampered Chef stuff that you bought. You have some herbs you dried yourself. You have Italian seasoning, garlic powder, cayenne, and you're a spicy chick and you like a little sass in your Italian seasoning. Mix it up and make it, bam, you have a dry rub. You can bottle it and sell it. It is yours, your recipe. And this is actually my signature seasoning. It's called Chef Nicole Spice, believe it or not. And it's got about 9 different ingredients, and it does have a little bit of a kick to it. It's not necessarily spicy, it's got a little bit more of a flavor, but if you're sensitive to spice, it'll be spicy to you. But this is what we call a dry rub, my friends. Nothing fancy, just some herbs and spices mixed together. You want to make it a wet rub? Simply add some oil. Now you've got a wet rub. You can bottle and sell that too. It's a little bit more different when you introduce some oil to things. It's different on shelf life. But now you got your own wet rubs. I think it is totally crazy, some of the money that I see these different rubs for. Just flip it over, people, and read the back. And it's like dehydrated onion, garlic salt, celery salt, pepper, crushed red pepper. Chances are pretty good you have all of those things in your spice cabinet. You know, truly, I love like opening my fridge and finding like, you know, my significant other will say, we have no food. And I'm like, I could eat for 2 weeks. Same thing with your spice cabinet, okay? Spices don't have an endless shelf life, unbeknownst to what most people think. you know, you keep it on top of your stove where it's like 9,000 degrees all the time, and you're like, why do I need to use so much of this? It's like, tastes like nothing. You just gotta throw it out. So, what I'll do is, okay, you know, we always do our steaks in Italian marinade, or whatever you're kind of, you know, you're a honey mustard girl, so you're kind of bland. Open your spice, I challenge you when you go home. Write this down. Open your spice. Because spices and herbs are not cheap, right? I mean, like, it's like $8 for a thing of poppy seeds this big. I almost died the other day at the grocery store. I was like, really?
Yeah, per pound they're the most expensive ingredient in a restaurant, per pound. Not what you use.
Poppy seeds, yeah. It's,
So you pay-
spices in general.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally. Oh, they're like, I mean, truly, like in culinary history, they were the first currency. I mean, some spices are worth more than
Is
their
it
weight
just
in gold.
because it's not, like, it has to be grown, like, so far away and, like, imported, or because?
It's well, historically, things like salt, chili powders, things like that, because there wasn't refrigeration, you could salt something and it would preserve it. Real hot, spicy chili peppers, things like that would overpower the flavor of meat that isn't so great. So that's why spices were so important. And then very wealthy people thought it was, you know, it was something fancy, and they came from India or China or different, very, you know, exotic nations. So that's pretty much that. But salt was the first because it preserved food. So when you were in battle in ancient Rome, and you were, you know, hundreds of miles from your homeland, and there's, you know, you now have salted cod, you have salted fish or salted whatever, so that you can eat while you're away. So that's where fundamentally it got its importance and its value, in quotes. So, but yeah, definitely spices are super expensive. So back to the challenge: go home, and you know, did you buy chili powder once? You have a little bit of cayenne, or you have cumin, or something like that. Just pull out your spices and dust the tops off. Make sure there's nothing alive in them.
Check it, do a shake.
And make like a cool dry rub and just say, hey, I'm gonna use this over the next month, or just find different unique ways. Even sometimes like shake up your spice rack and like just switch things to the front. You'll be amazed at you're like, oh my god, I like celery salt. That's so weird. You ever buy like those pre-made spice racks and you're like, who uses these spices? You know, like mustard seeds? Who uses that much in 1 year? I mean, mustard seed calls for like a quarter teaspoon, like a year. It's like, are you pickling things? Like, it's like, this is the pickling set I bought. It's like the most random spices sometimes. And I use a lot of spices, so if they're weird for me. It's like, for the average cook, yeah. Anyway, so make your own dry rubs, make your own wet rubs. I mean, like $3.49 for a bottle of teriyaki sauce, you know, honey mustard, to marinate your chicken in. Here's a newsflash, people. Honey mustard is just honey and mustard. That's it. Whole grain mustard and honey. You get fancy with it. You do whatever you want. You like it more potent, use more mustard. You like it spicy, use spicy mustard. You like it more sweet, just use more honey. If you like it creamy, add a little mayo in there. It's totally cool. Make your own dressings too. It's so easy. I'm telling you, Google this stuff before you'll save yourself. People are like, oh, what am I gonna do with this honey? I just like totally past tea season. So just make a wet rub with your spices, with your chili powder, cayenne.
When is tea season?
I don't know, during winter. Use your, if you have like a spice that you bought for one spicy dish, use that, but it's normally too spicy for you, use that and mix it with some honey. So you now have like a sweet and spicy thing going on. Just get a little creative. You're all good at it. Trust me. There's things that we are born to know how to do, and eat is one of them. So just explore that. So that's dry rubs, wet rubs, marinades. Go ahead.
Oh, on the dry rubs, when should you put that on? Should it set for the half hour while the meat is sitting out at room temperature?
It depends. You can if you're gonna do like a dry rub on a salmon, I would actually just do it like we're gonna do. You can actually start cooking this if you want.
All right.
I can yell over this. Don't fret. We'll do it like a fish, especially like a white fish or anything like that. We'll do it right now because we're with a dry rub. Again, culinary term or the culinary purpose of it is to create a flavor on the outside that your mouth actually tastes first and doesn't overpower the protein. It just lends to the flavoring of the protein. We're not trying to break down the structure of this protein with an acid, anything like that. So you can actually throw it on right away. With a wet rub that you typically use on like a pork tenderloin or a pork loin, you can throw it on a couple hours before because you want it to penetrate. But again, this has a little bit of a kick to it, so we don't want it to sit for too long because then it wouldn't taste like salmon anymore. It would just taste like cayenne. where things like chicken and pork that are much denser, don't have as much water content as a fish, you can actually do a little for much longer. Steaks, beef, things like that. In terms of a marinades and things like that, marinade, those are the type of things, mops, base, whatever you want to call them, those are the types of ingredients that you want to use on proteins that have like a different type of structure to them that you want to break down. You're looking to manipulate that protein structure. And typically you do that with two things. Either acid from citrus, acid from a vinegar, acid from something like a tomato and a barbecue sauce. Barbecue sauce is very acidic, even though people think it's not. It's basically vinegar and tomatoes. Even ketchup will do it, stuff like that. So that is where marinating is like you want to do it for hours, because the point of it is to break down or penetrate the structure of that protein, which is where you need that liquid. Things like papaya, I don't want to say papaya extract. It's like powdered papaya. It's a tenderizer. It actually will like make meat mush. So I just want to touch it. Have anybody heard of this papaya? Go ahead.
When you mentioned about dry rub, you weren't actually rubbing, you were just spreading it on, right? Is that what you do?
You can. Salmon is very tacky, especially like how we store it. So he can sprinkle it. He probably didn't do a full. Yeah, you can push it in.
No, I mean, you also put it down on the side.
On the seasoned side?
Right.
Right, because then he can season it right on the grill. Yep. And if that fish had skin on it, how would we cook it? Skin side down or skin side up?
Skin side down.
Skin side up. Because the skin sticks, that's right, because it's scaly. It's not scaly, it actually has scales on it. And